Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning. Trust you and yours are well, and you're loving yourself and others like always. Many thanks to all of you for all the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you, my esteemed subscribers. You're loved, celebrated, and of course, appreciated. The sickness caused by black people being around white people for too long. And what sickness is that? We are seeing the symptoms everywhere around us right now in the black community. And I've talked about this one or two times. A lot of you don't like discussions like this. But since we're talking about the unity of the melanated around the world, because that is the only way out for us, we will keep talking about this. Your Majesties. And what is that sickness? Let's listen to this and we'll take it up from there.
It's crazy that some black Americans are desperate to dissociate themselves from African heritage, despite the obvious genetic characteristics that resemble that of African people. You are wearing African DNA, but you vehemently disagree with being associated with African heritage. And then they are so desperate to cling to that continent that they were shipped to, fabricating some type of history where they are related to Native American Indians. Most of you look nothing like Native American Indians. Nothing. In fact, Native American Indians look more like Mexican people, and you can see it based on one genetic characteristic, the hair texture. Now, I do understand that some black Americans will have Native American DNA in them. This is by virtue of being on that continent for the past few centuries. Cross-pollination will take place. So that was inevitable for the mixing of DNAs to occur. But for black Americans to deny African heritage is really a mental illness. Imagine a Chinese American said, "No, I'm native to America." You would look at them as though they were crazy, because you can see obviously that their genetic traits say otherwise. How can you as a black American stand there, look yourself in the face with African characteristics and tell yourself that you are more closely related to Native American Indians? This is a sickness. This is a sickness caused by black people being around white people for too long. And I don't see myself as black. What do you see yourself as? I'm a white person. It's difficult because I don't identify as being black. Um, Also, like I was brought up white, mm, so I'm white. Me, eventually, your blackness or your Afrocentricity gets whitewashed to a point where you start to demonize being African. You start to look at it as a subclass of people, a class of people lower than your own, yet you are the same. Do you see the cognitive dissonance? You have black Americans boycotting African businesses. You are boycotting your roots. This doesn't make sense. You have black people hating on African artists. This doesn't make sense. These are your roots. You are hating on your own roots, and you are so desperate to cling to made up roots. Wake up. Then you get the black Americans who say, "Nah, you don't really know us. You looking from the outside in." Sometimes it requires looking from the outside in to gain an objective perspective on the general behavior of a group of people. And I can relate to this as a South African because South Africans experience similar cognitive dissonance, where South Africans are xenophobic towards other Africans. Yet we are the same. If you look at the world right now, it's a bunch of African people fighting other African people for God knows what. We don't even understand why we're fighting a lot of the time. We are just angry. We're so angry from all the colonialism. We're now fighting each other for that shit. We're blaming each other for that shit, for being separated.
I just had to pause it for a bit so that I will have some of these discussions with you and we will continue, right? You know, when we were talking about this thing that was trending about Black Americans or African Americans having no culture, I brought in people's opinion and then I ended it up with we are one people and we have suffered equally. We have been wronged equally. And I was disappointed in a good number of African Americans or maybe Black Americans because you do not want to be called African Americans anymore, who felt emotionally disturbed about that topic. Okay? Yes, for some people who might not have the knowledge of situations, they might just come out and say whatever they want to say out of anger, out of rage. African Americans will come out and talk down on Africans, and maybe Africans will come out and talk down on African Americans. That was exactly what was happening on the internet. And I brought in all this opinion here, and then I wrap it up with saying that we are one people. But I find it so confusing to see that respectable people like some of you who watch my channel, I'm saying respectable people because from my analytics, most of you who watch me are 50 and above. And to have people who have seen life to that point still been emotionally dragged, I'm not even waiting to hear what I have to say about the whole situation, coming out to say there's no need to bring up topics like this. Why? Why not? It is our problem. It is what is happening in our communities. It is just right that we trash it. You see, most of the time we're always in the denial about situation. They are happening and we claim that we are not seeing it. And that is why it keep affecting us and keep repeating itself. See, there is something that you all should know. As African Americans, I'm not talking about those who are FBAs or those who now have accepted that they are not Africans. I'm talking about you African Americans who watch me because you are African Americans. You are me and I am you. If I insult you, I insult myself. This is what I just want you to have in your mind today. If I talk down on any African American, I am talking down on myself. At least I know better to that level. Others might not know, but not Abigail. If you today insult me, you are insulting yourself. Why? Because we are one. We are one. Irrespective of what we might have gone through, of the distance between us, of the gap between us, I still love you as part of me because I know you are part of me. And you should love me as part of you because I am part of you. So if I talk down on any African American or talk down on their culture, their upbringing, their society, I am also insulting myself. This is what I just want you to have in your head while we continue.
This is why some black Americans refuse to identify with or even acknowledge their African heritage. The natives here communicate with each other across the impenetrable jungle, cleverly sending messages by rhythmically beating tom-toms. Wale. Now imagine being shown a cartoon like this from a young age, being told that the continent that your forefathers come from, that your forefathers were shipped from, is a continent of savages. It's basically a big jungle where people are communicating via drums. They have animals as modes of transport, and they barely have anything to eat. And this is what the average child in Africa looks like. Two things that the USA has done so well as a colonizing superpower is that they have invested in two industries that have some of the biggest influence on the world at present. Those two industries are the military and the media. I won't talk about the military today. I want to narrow into the media and the visual propaganda that gets fed to American citizens and the rest of the world by America. And that then starts to reprogram the minds of people to even hate their own people. The US has invested so much money in its media industry that even the public organizations, agencies such as the CIA and the FBI and the Pentagon are invested in US television, US films. US films are funded by Pentagon budgets. Now you ask yourself, why would the Pentagon have budgets for movies? Why would the CIA have budgets for movies? Why would any of these government agencies have budgets for movies? It's because that's where the power really comes from. If you think of politics, politics is a game of power. It's Game of Thrones. Anywhere where you are able to mass manipulate people, you will heavily invest in those areas. The USA currently dominates the entertainment industry. All of us know the Kardashians. All of us know Kevin Hart. All of us know all these American celebrities. And we also know some of the dangerous visual propaganda that has come through their media. Through their media, the USA has managed to convince the world that Africans are ape-like savages, that Muslim or Arabic people are terrorists, that Russian people are gangsters and spies, and the list of stereotypes goes on and on and on and on. And the average American citizen buys all of this information and asks no questions. That's why so many Black Americans are experiencing cognitive dissonance, trying to associate their heritage with that of the Native American Indians, claiming that they are predominantly descendants of Native American Indians. Black Americans, I'm going to need you to please be more intelligent. Some Black Americans that live in Atlanta are claiming that Atlanta is Atlantis. Oh my God. Listen, if you care about humanity and the evolution of mankind, I need you to bow your head in prayer right now. God, if you are out there and you created the earth and the beings that are on this planet, I need you to be with Americans right now. Go to Black Americans specifically and bless them with enlightenment, because of right now, it's a South Park episode there, bro.
Oh, Your Majesties, I hope you watch up until this time. And what are we saying? Personally, I would say that I don't think I have a problem with what anybody identify as. If you want to identify as FBA, you have nothing to do with Africa, that's fine. That's what you want to believe, that's okay. If you identify as African Americans, that's still fine, that's okay. Because right now, it's not about the truth or about the lie anymore. It's about what you have agreed that you are. Because there's no point dragging and keep saying that, oh, that's a lie, this is the truth. And I believe that most of the times we all are aware of the reality deep within us, but we are just being in a denial, maybe because of situations or because of the reasons that he pointed out. I know that some Americans might not want to associate with Africa because of the media. Like he said, the media. The media had done a lot of havoc to the image of the African people, to the point where some Americans, African Americans, might think that we are all savages, we are poor, we don't know how to live life, because that is what the media had told you. We are sleeping in mud, we don't have water to drink, like that African American who claim that Africa is always dependent on aid, and he wasn't told that the same America that he is living in have exploited Africa and keep exploiting Africa, and the same America that he's living in have what they call AFRICOM, that is in charge of a lot of stealings from the motherland of raw mineral resources. He is not aware of that. So the knowledge of this young man is the same knowledge that some African Americans have. It's the truth. That is why I keep saying it here, that the media had done a lot of destruction to our understanding of each other. Your understanding of Africans in the continent have been affected by the media, the American media. Sorry, the mainstream media. Our understanding of African Americans in America have been affected by mainstream media. They have successfully created a gap between us, and they are just seated, folding their hands, looking at us, destroying each other.
Hello people, it's Mr. Reasoning here. What I'm going to tell you and what you're going to hear is going to make you understand everything that I've been talking about in the past few weeks about these adverts that they keep showing about black man, white woman constantly, or mixed race couples and all that. Not that I ain't got nothing against mixed race relationships, because I've had them myself, right? So don't think I'm coming for you. No, that's not what this is about. It's about noticing what's going on the TV and in films, right? this is gonna answer the questions. And I said before, something's going on. This is gonna show you something's going on. Right, first of all, let's start here. Listen.
Did you know that Africa is home to the most genetically diverse people on the planet? But what does that really mean? And why is African DNA so unique compared to the rest of the world? Think about this. Every single person on Earth can trace their ancestral roots back to Africa. That's right, whether you're living in Asia, Europe, the Americas, or Australia, the genetic blueprint of humanity began on the African continent. But how does that impact the way we view genetics, evolution, and even the future of medicine? Today, we're diving deep into the science, history, and cultural importance of African DNA. We'll explore its incredible diversity, what makes it different, and why it holds the key to unlocking some of the biggest mysteries about human health and evolution.
Right, so we're gonna delve into this DNA thing. Very interesting because it's a recent science. It's a new science. Say about 8 years old, something like that. I think the first genome was discovered in the 1950s, and they've been breaking it down ever since, and more research. Now everybody's doing the DNA thing and all that stuff. So before that time, racism believed that there was all these different races. But what that man's telling you is everyone is one. We all are one race. Africa is the place where everybody started on this planet. Everyone can trace their deepest roots back to the continent of Africa. And DNA is now showing them that they need African DNA. They need to study it because they're finding out all this stuff about diseases and resistance to things and all kind of thing. You see, I was reading this, I do some research on this, right? I was reading this science book, paper about where white people came from, because I wanted to know, where did white people come from? How did they come about? And they come about in full about 8,500 years ago. Just 8,500 years ago, there's 2 genes that make up pale skin, right? And them genes are not visible in the DNA story until 8,500 years that they are there a lot. Before that time, everybody in the planet was some different shade of brown. Everybody was a different shade of brown, be it dark, that is black, or light, but it was brown all the time. And then about 8,500 years ago, some of that group lost all their pigmentation completely. Now, that group of brown people even had blue eyes, especially in Europe. In Europe, they keep finding these old skeletons, 10,000 years old. And now, through the DNA, when they go down into the DNA, they discover that this skeleton, they found one in Sweden recently. You know the one they found in England, right? Which they did. They found that he had brown skin, blue eyes, black hair. They found one in Sweden, 10,000 years old. Same thing, brown skin, blue eyes, black hair. So this blue-eyed thing was already there before the pale skin, right? And they also found that in Africa, the group that has these 2 genes that make up the pale skin more than any other African group is in Ethiopia. So it's there, but that gene hasn't come out in Ethiopia, so then people is still brown. But that group of people amongst the Africans has that gene more than anybody else in Africa. Right? So anyway, let's get to the next part.
But it's not just about ancient DNA. Even today, African populations continue to hold genetic variations that are rare or entirely absent in other parts of the world. This makes African DNA a gold mine for researchers
African
studying
DNA,
genetics,
a gold mine,
evolution, and even modern medicine. This incredible diversity and uniqueness mean that African DNA isn't just about understanding the past. It's crucial for the future.
It's crucial.
It provides insights into how humans can adapt to diseases, environmental changes, and other challenges. For example, by studying the genetic traits of African populations, scientists have made breakthroughs in understanding diseases like malaria, HIV, and even cancer. In the next section, we'll explore why this diversity is so important, not just for Africa, but for humanity as a whole.
Listen to what he's saying.
Genetic diversity isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's a critical factor in understanding the survival and adaptability of our species. But why does this matter so much? And how does African DNA play a central role in this story? Genetic diversity is the foundation of adaptability. It's what allows species to survive and thrive in different environments. The broader the genetic pool, the more tools a population has to overcome challenges like diseases,
Broader.
climate changes,
Broader.
and environmental pressures. African DNA, with its unmatched diversity, carries a wealth of genetic variations that have helped humans adapt for thousands of years.
I'm sorry I did cut over him. Sorry for talking over him, but he said one of the important things they're looking to challenge is climate change and environmental circumstances. What's in the news at the moment? Climate change. And that's been talked about for a long time now. So, basically, what he's saying is, African DNA, you heard the man say, is a gold mine in order for our survival. So these people have come to realize for them to survive into the future, into this changing world, they need to go back to the source of their ancestors. Their ancestors left Africa all them 70,000 years ago, and they left with certain genes that have not diversified in the way that African genes have continued to diversify. They need them back. They need to go back to the source. So where the racists were once preaching about racism and separate races of people, what DNA is showing people that we are all Africans and we all come from Africa.
And that is why I told you before now, that when you understand this whole situation, you are matured enough to understand what is happening. You would know that if you insult me, you insult yourself. And if I insult you, I insult myself. I'm going to leave everything be here. What do you think? Leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section. I'm going to see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others. Stay safe, stay positive, always your majesties. Bye for now.